one time, but I won't get it.
There you go. Yeah. So then I don't know the
Sorry. At 6 o'clock, call please stand and I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My normal speech. If you have a cell phone, please either mute it or turn it off. Thank you. We have the treasurer's warrant. Payroll warrants for January 24th and January 31st.
I move that we approve the payroll warrants of January 24, 2020 and January 31, 2020.
All those in favor? Thank you. Accounts payable warrants for January 28th and February 4th.
I move that we accept the accounts payable warrants of January 28, 2020 and February 4, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of the minutes, January 21st, 2020. Do we have any corrections, omissions? I couldn't find anything in here when I went through. No? All set?
I
Okay.
move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. We have no special presentations, but we do have two committee appointments. Timothy James to the Shellfish Committee and Paul Dixon, Shellfish Committee. They are both reappointments. What is the board's pleasure?
Judy, I'd like to make a motion to bring both all forward together to vote for their reappointments.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Thank you. We have no public hearing tonight. The next one is public comment. At each regular selectman meeting, there will be time devoted to any resident or taxpayer of the town of Wiscasset to address the selectmen regarding any item that is not on the agenda for that meeting. Do we have any public comment at this point? None? Okay. I like this meeting so far. Yeah,
So moving right along.
yeah, move right along. Department head or committee chair, we have the waterfront committee, Sue Robson, peer policy updates. Sue? You want to explain any corrections? You want to give any?
So you should have,
We do.
and I don't know if you've had time to go over them. What we agreed to were everything that's in red. And then the strike throughs with what's there now that we think should be removed.
Okay. And we are not going to have any winter storage down there, is that correct?
The operating is from May to October when a business can be operated.
Mm-hmm.
I know the businesses are down there now. I know in the future, it's been discussed that they want to be removed for maintenance and things like that.
Okay. So are we saying that in October they are to be removed?
Correct. I think they refer to it as Indigenous Peoples' Day and starting at Memorial Day. I think that was.
So they're gonna have to remove the businesses mandated by the board?
Yeah, routinely, I mean, we're talking about seasonal use here.
Okay.
And,
But there's a big expense as far as them moving their buildings on and off. I mean, is it their choice for maintenance
No.
or ours?
it's the town's.
Didn't we
Why
have,
is that?
excuse me, didn't we have a study done, come down and look at the pier and that there has to be maintenance done, and that is the reason why we have discussed taking them off this year.
For this year?
Yes, at
Okay,
this
so,
point.
so there's maintenance that needs to be done?
Yes.
They can't be done with them on?
That is
the pier.
correct.
Then-
Am I
okay.
correct, John?
Yeah, and the other concern was the work never gets a chance to dry off because it's got all these structures on it. And so that was, just from a maintenance point of view, it made sense. And the other, I'm sorry.
I just want to clarify, it's just for this 1 year?
I don't know going forward, but for now.
Like I said, I would vote for it for this year, if there's maintenance that needs to be done, Judy, but I don't, if there isn't maintenance that needs to be done, then I don't think that they should be mandated to remove.
I agree.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Please
would
stand
think-
and come to the podium.
Margot Rafter-Strawn. I would think that removing them every year would do more damage. They have to be anchored down, and every time you take them off, they're gonna get re-anchored. You're gonna do more damage to the pier, I would think.
Absolutely.
So that, to do that every year, I would foresee that being a huge problem. I really would.
Thank you. But we had the company come out and take a look at it.
No, we haven't looked underneath, but we've had our public works talk about the work that needs to be done. Haven't had a chance to look under the buildings, as in the surface. I mean, we've got a lot of damage forwards,
Okay.
and it's a constant. Head count of the boards, a lot of stuff we need to do.
So is this something that the board can address again next year as far as seasonal, over the winter?
My suggestion would be, just do the seasonal.
So for
like you
this year, in
outlined.
October,
Yeah.
in
And
October,
then
you need
see
to
how everything
consider.
looks. And as I said, I had someone supposed to come look underneath, and the tides were wrong or something.
Uh-huh.
So that'd be done at the same time, but we need to look at this, we need to look at the structure and configuration, and I think, you know, the fees you came up with, you know, they're acceptable from my point of view, and the modifications you made on the pier policies. I'm fine with them. What the board wants to do for next year going forward, that's fine too.
So you're talking about, John, removing them like tomorrow, if we,
No. We can move tomorrow, the season's about to start.
Perfect.
So we would do a seasonal, like I described, Memorial Day through what used to be known as Columbus Day, and then after that, and then for the winter, so we can do our thing. And then,
can I, just from my seat, just make a motion that we get the pier tested before we mandate them to remove them at the end of this coming season? Like I said, I was all set to vote for it if the study had been done, the pier needed to be fixed. You know, until the study's done, I'd like to not mandate to the shop owners down there that they have to remove their buildings.
well,
Go ahead.
yeah, there's a way of dealing with that. Basically, they get the seasonal license for this time. In other words, they operate the commercial part of it until Columbus Day, and then somewhere in the summer, we'll have the structural work done. But there's no reason to delay the opening of the season.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about delaying anything. I guess I just want to make sure that we're not having the business owners have to remove their business come this Columbus Day.
So what you're saying is between now and Columbus Day.
Right, if we find that
We
the
have
buildings
someone
need
come in
to
there to look at it.
be, correct,
And if it needs to be, the shops need to be removed to make repairs, at that time they will do that.
that's what I would like to
That's what
have
you want.
happen, and like I said, I don't,
But we cannot take any winter storage permit until we have
the study done,
had the study done.
perfect.
Because I don't want to have somebody pay the storage for the winter and then all of a sudden have to come back and say, oh no, you're going to have to remove it because this, and this needs to be done.
So when we start approving for this season, it will be till October, and then they'll have to reapply a winter storage, if that's even a possibility?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to know what to tell them when they come before us. you know,
That's
what to
how I'm
expect.
looking at
Just
it.
let them know that we're gonna do a study on the pier to see if they need to be removed.
Okay.
Kim?
I'm just confused, because the application doesn't, I don't think it talks about winter storage. And everywhere there was the word seasonal that is struck out, so we're just talking about, permits, annual permits. So, and that they would be in business from May to October. But I don't think there's a section in here, Judy, about winter storage.
No, there isn't. There is not, because we needed to have this study done to determine whether we're going to have.
So that I understand, as of right now, we're not mandating that any businesses need to be removed from the pier as of October.
No.
Okay.
As
Thank you.
Jeff and I said, what we will do is let them go on seasonal, pay their rate. Between now and October, we will have someone come down, look at the pier, check it over, and if it's determined that they need to be removed to make repairs, then we would have to have them remove them.
Yeah, and it's always possible that maybe if they need to make repairs underneath one of the businesses, it can be moved, like everything can be moved to the right-hand side, and they fix this, and then everything moves back to the left. You know, we'll look at all of our options, right?
Susan, how many are on there all winter?
All of them.
All of them?
All of them?
Eight now.
There's 8?
We have one empty spot and
Six,
when the
7, 8
jail
buildings.
leaves.
So, I mean, if we have it done during the summer months, this done during the summer, where the water might be a little bit warmer to get underneath there, that would give us plenty of time to make a determination. Plus, if they have to be removed, give them the time to make arrangements to have them removed. If they're going to stay for the winter, then they can do the application for the winter storage. Is that agreeable? Okay. Well, I will second Jeff's motion.
What was the motion?
That they do not have, they're not mandated to remove their buildings come Columbus Day.
Oh, okay.
And that I'd like you to add that we're going to have an assessment done of the pier, please.
Right. We're gonna have a study done on the pier. And then if it's determined that they need to be removed, they will. And if it's not, we'll come with a winter storage fee.
Thank you. And I second it. You made that one up, okay.
Catherine shorthand.
Yes, Jim?
I laud the committee and the town manager for raising the rates in some areas, but there's still inequity going on the way rates should be. Business rates, any type of thing, is a square footage rate. With the $1,000 seasonal fee for a 10 by 20, that's $5 a square foot per season. Based on that same rate, that 30 by 34 should be $6,000 for the season, which is still a very good rate for the amount of square footage there, because you could fit 3 or 4 smaller units on that same amount of space, and that's the prime space on the entire pier. It's only equitable that everyone pays the same rate structure. It's done everywhere else. I don't understand why this keeps happening with this prorated rate. It is not adequate. And frankly, the fees that we would collect, even with these increased rates based on this criteria, if they're paying essentially, if the 30 by 34 is paying a special subsidized rate essentially, we're barely covering maintenance costs for that pier. And if we put the porta-johns in, we will be in the hole once again, just like we were this year, next year, financially.
Thank you, Jim. Susan, did you have a comment?
Well, I just wanted to comment that even, like, if you're renting a 30 by 34 space, the size limit on your building that can be in that space is still 10 by 20 or something.
Yeah, you can't put more than one building.
So the building space is still taking, and the extra space is more for maybe your peripheral furniture or whatnot, so.
Okay,
That
so,
went into why we figured it.
well, even with that criteria then, let's say there's two 10 by 20 units in that space, that's $2,000. That's still at least $500 more, and that's still giving that area special square footage allowances wider than anyone else has. I mean, if somebody only wants a 10 by 10 versus a 10 by 20, they're still required to pay $2,000 fee, correct?
If they all wanted to, say again.
If they want a 10 by 10, if they're only gonna put a 10 by 10 building in their 10 by 20 unit, they're still paying the full $1,000,
Right.
correct? So why is the criteria any different if the buildings are smaller and a 30 by 34? It's a square footage fee for rentable space, and that should be consistent throughout.
Are there any comments from the board at this point? Ben?
We had some vacancies down there this past year.
We have two now. Two now, and if we can't rent those two, why in the world would we increase the rates? So doesn't make sense, Benny.
I have another question.
You have any? Go ahead.
What about the other pier? Are the rates gonna be the same on the other pier where the little ice cream shop is?
Yes.
Okay, so this is for both piers.
Yeah,
Because I know one year there was a different rate for the commercial
Yes.
pier. But
I didn't know we were putting anything on the other pier. I know
Where
the
that
ice cream shop.
yeah.
I know the ice cream is
And we
there.
had changed their rate, or you did, I can't remember if I was on the board yet, or I think it was the year before I came on the board. And their rate was changed because,
Okay, but we're not adding any more
No.
to that pier, correct?
Not at this time.
and this, if
Thank
they
you.
move back in, this is the rate they have to pay. Yes.
I mean, because I look at that pier, I'm sorry, and I see it as a recreational pier for boaters, that when they come into town, I don't really would like to see them have all kinds of little shops around it. It's my personal opinion. Is everybody, yes, Catherine, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to thank the waterfront committee for your hard work.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Jim's comments on the rates. However, I don't think we want to, personally, I don't think we ought to be nickel and diming everybody to death, and we want to be business friendly. And we want to make the waterfront a welcoming place. And this is a pretty good starting point. And there's nothing to say that the rates won't be rearranged next year. So that's, I think this is fine. We ought to accept this the way it is.
Yes, Margaret.
Two things, two comments. One, I mean, obviously, we're talking about print space, and Sprague's draws a lot of people to that pier so that other people want to be there to try and sell. And if we push him out, to be very honest, and that's something we consider, then we're gonna lose the draw, and none of them are gonna do as well. To me, that's pretty obvious. Secondly, I forgot my second thing.
Can't help you.
That's okay.
What was the other thing? Oh, I feel very strongly, and this is a plea from me to the select board, if we have policies that say you need to be open 5 hours, 5 days a week, and they're not, we need to enforce that and the other pier policies, please. QT Ice Cream came back last year and renewed, even though we did not approve them and they were accepted. They weren't open hardly at all. And I don't know how much they were open this year, but I don't think it was much. That doesn't help any of the businesses if you can't count on a business being open. And
Well,
I think that hurts us.
when a business comes before you to open down there, it comes before the waterfront committee, correct?
Yes,
You bring that to the board
Right.
right.
with a determination as to whether you would like that to go on there or not.
Mhm.
And if they can't commit to 5 days a week, maybe you ought to say to the board.
We do.
We did.
We
Bob
did.
went and overrode it, and everybody
We did.
voted with Bob. It was outrageous, and then I went on a tear, and No, that is exactly what happened. And this board, because of Bob Lyman's motion, undermined the waterfront committee.
We
Maybe
have
you
not
don't even take
approved
their
her.
application.
We did not, we can't accept or not accept the application, it comes to you. We make our
Recommendation.
recommendations.
Okay.
We said no, but because she came in and paid ahead of time before it was ever even presented to us, we were told that she had to be able to be allowed to go through again because she'd already paid and they weren't gonna reimburse.
I remember that now.
Okay,
I remember that now.
we
Yes.
cannot accept money until they've been approved. Please.
This year, we're not accepting any money until the selectmen approve each vendor.
Thank you,
That
That
will,
would-
that will take care of it.
thank you.
But if
I
they're
remember
not
that.
open and we come to the town and say, they're not following peer policies, somebody needs to be able to tell them, and I don't care if it's one of us, but somebody needs to tell them that they no longer have a business on it.
Well, I agree with you because they should do the application. It should come before the board. No money involved at that point.
Right.
And if we approve it, they've got 10 days to make the payment or 5 days or however you want to make it. And if it's not approved, we don't have to worry about any money exchanging hands.
Thank you.
I agree, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Susan?
So one of the things we suggested in our application was an application fee.
I saw that.
So that, would that be paid when they apply? I mean, application fees like that are usually non-refundable, and
Yeah, that's non-refundable.
I'm sorry, too many people talking, I didn't catch the question again.
we suggested in the application an application fee. So would that be, that would get,
You have stated in here that it's non-refundable, so they would not get it back. And they have to understand that.
okay, it doesn't say non-refundable, it can.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
This is non-
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the application.
Yes, it does in your policy. And when they come in for an application, you have to tell them that there's a $30 fee and it's
Okay.
non-refundable.
Okay,
And if they don't want to pay the $30 fee, then you don't take their application.
and we cannot collect the fee, correct? Kathy?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I do have a question about.
Well, wouldn't they come up here for the application anyway?
Most likely, but it is online. Well, it has been online.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, no worries. I'm curious to know about the electrical down there. I know there's been some talk, I know we can't have extension cords running, so the placement of the buildings, do you want to see that get moved this season, so the buildings are more against where the power is?
Well, they have to be in compliance, I mean, from a safety point of view.
Right, so no extension cords.
So no extension cords, so it's a matter of having an electrician look at
Right.
who's where currently, and then figure out what's needed. Maybe a building needs to be shifted, might be the simplest way, or beyond that, but from the point of view of services to individual buildings, that expense hopefully would be modest, and if it's not, we'd have to pass that on, whoever the vendor is.
Okay.
We can't, you know, I, from the beginning, I said, because of the violations that I ignored all last summer, didn't want to get into the middle of it, but now we're at the beginning of the season, no reason to delay the opening, but we do have to meet all standards, all safety standards.
Which could mean the building has to move to where the power is.
And that would probably
Yes.
be the simplest way, but it does require an electrician, a licensed electrician, to analyze where everybody is, what the distances are, where the receptacles are, then figure out, and it's up to the board, how much they want to commit to this, or it may be something the vendors would be approached about. But we can't just keep spending money.
Okay, I just want to know what to tell people when they apply. So when you say an electrician, does that mean they need to look at a footprint of the pier and figure out, like, we know where the 9 outlets are?
We haven't sent anybody down to do that yet.
Right,
but
right.
We'll have to.
Right.
Yes,
I
Jim?
guess I don't.
Are we talking metered, where people are gonna be paying their own electrical bills for the first time?
It could, I don't see it happening right off, but ultimately, there should be meters identified. I know Frank pays 50% of whatever's drawn out of one.
80%.
Sorry, 80, what else?
Like it's 80 cents.
But, I mean, it's appropriate that they be charged for whatever they use, whatever it takes for metering. And my being practical about it, I can't see it happening immediately, because putting in, you know, poles, receptacles, meters is not a small task, especially in a crowded space, an awkward space over the water. Anyway, so that's work in progress.
So did the town lose money, or did it break even on electrical this year?
I don't have the answer, I didn't look it up before the meeting.
Okay, so, can we get an estimate? Like when we call in the electrician, let's get an estimate on what it would cost to set up meters, because everybody, especially Frank, might like to pay their own. And I think it would behoove us as a town to do whatever it takes to support the businesses down on the pier, because they do bring a lot of people to our town. People, I mean, I've met people in the airport in Iceland who talk about coming to the pier to eat lobster, so we have to do anything we can to support them.
How many use electricity?
Everyone.
They all use electricity. So you're suggesting meters for each one?
I'm suggesting we get an estimate.
An
I'm
estimate.
asking if we can, if we're gonna have an electrician look anyway, can we also ask him to provide an estimate for doing that work?
Yeah, can do.
Because I know it wasn't very expensive in some other places where they metered out stuff, so maybe it won't be that bad.
They do make little RV meters that each vendor could set up an account with CMP.
Okay.
So each vendor, the town's not involved at all. Each vendor calls CMP and activates their meter. They don't
Okay.
get power unless they've got their own account. It's billed right to each vendor. The town's out of it. The only question I had for the board was, if we accept, and I'm not sure, that's why I'm asking, if we accept electrical payment as far as our application
Mhm.
from the vendors, does that put us under liability to make sure the electrical is up to code at the pier that we're selling the electrical service from to the vendor?
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way, we can't, we have to make sure that when it gets to the meter, receptacle, whatever,
Right.
that all that's kosher. After that, it's up to the vendor.
Okay.
And so it would be reasonable for them to let connections or whatever on the load be evaluated by an electrician. Just somebody to sign off that they're not, you know, creating dangerous fire hazards for anybody.
But if we're gonna ask the vendors to get whatever that thing is to put on their building, then the request for electrical service in this application would have to go away, because it wouldn't have nothing to do with the town.
Right. But until we do that,
Right,
we're bound by this payment that we've received
right.
to make sure everything's good. You know, so nobody walks by and gets zapped or whatever the problem might be. You know, have a bad ground fault or whatever. But the road commissioner is right on top of that stuff, so any problems, he can take care of it. The only other question I had,
Take care of everything.
yeah, the only question I had was, any violations on the pier? Do we identify those to our chairman, and then she identifies them to the town manager, and then the town manager would enforce them? How does that?
Yeah. As soon as you hear about it, obviously as soon as
Right,
they're,
right.
otherwise just bring it right to us. Yeah. Don't hang around with that stuff.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
I'm gonna go back to electricity again, if I can. I wonder if there's some way we can do something between now and when they come start in May to take care of this electrical.
Worst comes to worst, we do it, Ted is the answer, go right ahead.
Okay?
Our electrician, the one that I use in town, we're in the maintenance right now of doing an estimate to meter them outlets.
Okay,
We've been working on that.
good,
So
good.
I should come up with an answer here. I'll give them a call tomorrow and push them along a little more.
I thank you for that, because if we're gonna do this, and if we're gonna do it correctly, I'd like to start it out in May, right?
Right.
Instead of doing piecemeal, do some this time and next year do a little bit of this. Let's just do it and get it over with. And, you know, if they can pay for their own electrical, I would prefer that than having the town pay it. I mean, if you're paying 80%, maybe you're paying more than you should. Maybe you should only be paying 50, you know?
It really depends on what they're using.
Correct.
We use the bulk of the power, I understand that. We've upgraded our power for our place, and we paid for it. Now it's more reliable. Used to be 90 amps, now it's 200 amps. So obviously, if you're gonna have several buildings down there running AC, refrigerators, and ice cream machines, it's gonna go above the 200 amp service.
Right.
But that hasn't happened yet, but it has happened before. And we've paid for it because of what had happened down there. And whatever, you know, it is what it is. And I understand the dilemma on the dog. I personally have been under that dog 1,000 times. And I personally think the dog is in pretty good shape other than some planks, but that's my opinion. You know, maybe you need someone to look at it.
I think we do, only for insurance purposes
Yeah.
also.
Well, they're gonna force that.
Yeah,
That's gonna happen anyways, you
Right.
know, when,
Catherine.
This is a question for Susan. You've, under number 2, the permits, and you talked about this $30 non-refundable processing fee. Is that going to be, are you gonna change the website so that this will appear on whatever?
I presume so. What I'll do is, I can polish this up and then I would send it to Kathy and then she puts it.
Okay, and the other thing I was going to ask about, you talked earlier about that ice cream place and they're not open X number, whatever you say that they should be open. Why is it, that should be included on the application, and perhaps you
Well,
can
that's-
come up with a solution or not a solution, but say, okay, if you're not going to abide by this,
You mean a non-compliance?
yeah,
Yeah.
so that they're well aware of it before they
They
even
were.
get started. And if they
It's just
see
not
it
in
in
writing,
print,
Susan.
and maybe you can, the waterfront committee can say, okay, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna get a warning, or you're gonna get this or that, or, 3 strikes, you're out,
Mhm.
whatever you think might be
That's
appropriate.
totally up to the town manager.
Well, we kind of put it all in number 9. Violations may result in immediate cancellation of a permit and impact any future permits. The town manager shall have the ultimate authority.
Okay.
Yeah, exciting.
Right.
Right.
No, I think.
So, I mean, we can maybe make that more clear.
I think it'd be reasonable to put on the application,
Okay.
check off, I undertake to, boom. They don't check it off, they don't get it.
If we're gonna, just a suggestion, if we're gonna have the electrical work done, can we
Come on.
table this whole thing
Yeah.
until we, and then rewrite the whole thing, Susan, for if the electricity's gonna change? I don't think that we're ready, just listening to all the comments to vote on this tonight.
I was sitting here thinking the same thing. If we're gonna do it, let's do it once and let's get it over with. Let's wait for the electrical bin, make any changes you want to the application, adding about the hours per day that they have to work, 75 days a week, whatever have you. Do it one time. I mean, they can start, February 1st?
Yeah, I don't know if any of them sent out yet.
Okay, all
We
right.
haven't, I haven't received any.
So,
I tried to get a permit the other day, and I couldn't get it.
okay.
But I've waited right down to the end a lot of times, and I've had other people get approved that haven't even been on the dog, and I'm still waiting. I'm committed to what's going on down there.
So do you think the 1st of February is too early a date to, not for people to apply?
Well, there's no reason they couldn't have them stacked up. And
They can
Just
apply,
one, like,
it doesn't mean
apply
they'll be
once.
approved.
Right, okay.
we could make a notation who submitted first.
So you want to table this for 2 weeks?
Christian will.
I just want to make sure that we don't wait too long to raise the fees, because that's what happened last year. Like, we
Well,
can't wait too
No
long.
permits are gonna get issued until this is taken care of. Am I
As long as we
correct?
don't wait too long, that's all.
That's why I'm saying, do you think?
I don't wanna wait at all, but we're just not ready.
Right.
Right.
Is there a way that we can get this done within 2 weeks, Ted? Do you think we could get some numbers?
I think so.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay. And that'll give Susan a chance to make any corrections she wants to the application.
Right.
Bring it back in 2 weeks, we could get to go, what we're talking, what, the middle of February? And we'd be better off, I agree with Jeff, I think we need to do it correct the first time. We keep saying we're gonna do this and do this, well, let's do it.
Getting close.
We have to close.
Yes.
There's a lot to do with the wording of it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, and everyone's a real technical person. I'm not sure who it is, but a lot of people are extremely technical.
Okay, Jeff, do you wanna withdraw your motion? And I'll withdraw my second. Now, do you wanna make a motion to table this in 2 weeks, for 2 weeks?
Sure.
And I will second. All those in favor? Thank you, Susan, and Waterfront Committee. Excellent job. Okay, Ordinance Review Committee update. Carl Olson, C9.
If you flip around, away from the colored one, there's Carl Olson, memo that I'm referring to. And Jackie was at those meetings, so if I'm misstating anything. He said at the February 10th meeting, which is next Monday, they're doing a final read-through of the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. And he's talking about the shoreline overlay ordinance. And basically his concern was they've been scattered through, the whole set of ordinances hard to administer. So that's been sent to the state.
We've taken the shoreline part out of the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
So we are not doing the zoning ordinance in addition to the shoreline.
Oh,
So there's two.
Okay, so, they've been sent to the state
Yeah.
for the initial.
Yeah, DEP has okayed the shoreline.
Then, there's, after initial introduction and discussion at the January 27th meeting, we will be making suggested changes to the land use ordinance that would allow congregate living, not limited to age 55 or older, on parcels of land that meet certain restrictions. And that's the school, the development that's been proposed for the school, and I believe it's on the agenda for next month. And the other thing is, I don't know what the board wants to do about this marijuana. If the board wishes, currently the town has opted out, in other words, not going to do anything about marijuana one way or the other. If the town wishes to opt in, then I'd have to talk to Carl and find out how best to.
It would be a town vote to
It'd be a town vote, yeah. But, so it'd be simply just the town wishes to opt in.
Yeah.
That's all, and then we get into,
Then you'd start with your ordinance.
okay, and that would be,
Depending on what part you want to opt into, there's two, I think.
adult use, medical use, and then growing plant harvest that are selling by a camp with a license. I would like the board's guidance, one way or the other.
We have a lot of marijuana retailers approaching us to
Well,
start a business here.
They haven't approached the town officially. There are plenty of them out and around. Some people find it a lucrative business, some people like it for all sorts of reasons. There is a medical thing is already okay anyway.
No,
So-
you have to opt in. No,
We do?
yeah.
Wait, what?
You do have to opt in for the medical use.
We do even. Oh, it's funny because I was talking to somebody who, okay,
Yeah, it's a form of prohibition.
the pink one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's down under the blue, about halfway down.
Oh, okay.
There's his
Can we
default.
opt in at any time?
That's if we allow it in the town. No, it doesn't mean the town people can't get the medical marijuana from some other source. Is that
I
correct?
understand,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if somebody wanted to open a business to sell retail marijuana, because you'll be allowed to in the state, right? You will.
Not here, not in the.
Exactly, not here, but in the state of Maine, right, in 2020, how long, and we want this business, how long will it take us to opt in, we have to wait a whole to.
We'd have to have it on the June ballot, correct?
Yes.
So why don't we just opt in and then that way we're covered?
Chief, what is your opinion on?
My opinion?
Yes, please. I want your opinion.
That is a real political question.
I know it is.
A good political
Well, you
answer.
can preface it by saying it's your first.
From everything I've read on the medical marijuana end of it, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it has its benefits. From what I've read. As a dare instructor, I may have a different view on what I instruct in school, but
I mean,
I mean, I noticed in Woolwich, you've got two of them within not even a half a mile of each other.
Right next to it.
I mean,
my feeling though, Judy, is that, they're selling alcohol in the store. And so if somebody wanted to come and sell marijuana in the store and it's legal in the state of Maine, then does the town of Wiscasset want to prohibit that? And, well, that's not for us to decide. That's for the townspeople to decide, so should we put it on the ballot?
It should be put out to the
It's not
town to
our
vote on.
choice, it's the
No.
whole town.
I have no problem putting it out to the people if they want to opt in, opt out. I
Okay,
have no problem with that.
yeah.
I have my own.
We all
personal-
have our own personal opinions, they're not relevant here.
They are to me.
Personally, I mean, do you want to hear my opinion? Probably not.
No.
So there you go.
well, the townspeople did vote to legalize it, so I think we should put something forward.
I do as well. It's not
Yeah, I
right.
think it would be short-sighted not to.
Correct.
Okay, then we need a motion to put it on the ballot.
What's it called? Just,
Opt in.
to selling retail marijuana sales?
It depends on whether you want the medical one or you want the other.
Both, I guess. I mean, it doesn't mean we have to have them, it just means that if we decide to have them down the road, we don't have to wait a whole year.
Does an article need to be written for each one to opt in?
I think so, yes.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we place on the June ballot the question that Wiscasset opt in to the Marijuana Legalization Act and the Maine Medical Use of Marijuana Act. Hemp and CBD we're already selling in town. Like that's already available.
Urban, right?
Okay, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed?
And the last item on Mr. Olson's memo was, if time allows, we begin looking at our parking issues as per Mr. Cochin's letter of last year. So, anything to add on that, Jackie?
No,
That's on the list?
yeah.
Okay.
And on the parking issue, the new planner that is working at Lincoln County, Ellsworth, that's her thing. She's a parking transportation expert and she's been brought on board. She's gonna do the whole transportation section of our comprehensive plan. That's her area of expertise and what she has a degree in. So I would recommend that the ordinance review committee invite Ellsworth to attend the meeting because she is an expert in our midst.
What is her name?
Her first name is Ellsworth. She's at
ELLSWYTH.
YTH, and I can look up her last name. She's with Mary Ellen Barnes. I'll tell you that in a minute.
Okay, the next item, unfinished business. Review of airport hangar lease. You're up, Greg.
Just to point out that the material that Rick is distributing wasn't available at the time of distribution of the package. So he's been working right on it.
You can wait.
Thank you.
I got one over.
Yeah.
And it's
Are you expecting a vote on this tonight?
No, it's,
Thank you. Because I really want to read it. I don't want to miss.
no, I'd like to applaud Rick and Edwin
Me too.
and Mr. Pantelli for being very, very clear as to what's the next step, and plus there's a development that might have economic benefit as well, apart from cleaning up the leases, so everybody's got a copy of this.
Thank you.
And if Rick,
Thank you.
you want to proceed?
Well, after the last board meeting and the vote that was taken, I took it to Mr. Pantelli, who's the FAA representative for New England. And this is what he approved. He was not real happy about the way we were proceeding. And if you don't mind, I know y'all can read, but it seems like I would like to read this to you. And after coordination with George Pantelli, FAA Compliance Officer in the New England Airports Division, the following are my recommendations and conditions moving forward concerning the Falvey land lease and future airport ground leases. This process will ensure we remain in compliance with our federal grant assurances and eligible for future federal funding under the Airport Improvement Program. Number one, terminate the existing lease immediately. The leaseholder's failure to construct hangars, which was the purpose of the lease after 15 years, is unacceptable and is considered by the FAA as an unlawful taking of the property. Issue an RFI, a request for interest, to see if there is anyone interested. Lease agreements should not be negotiated and executed until there is a real project with detailed development plans and financial backing. Break the lease area up into 3 separate parcels, one each for the 2 T hangar sites and one for the lot next to David Stapp's hangar. The same process should be followed for other areas between the SRE building and the terminal building. Excuse me. Use the fee structure the town set several years ago, submitted by the airport committee and approved by the board. This clears the books of the other values fees set years ago and adjusted legally or otherwise. I recommend the airport committee address this issue as soon as possible and that their proposed fee structure receive FAA endorsement. And the last item, number 5, new lease agreements must be one that assesses the value of the lease based on the published fees which are board approved. The lease must also have a clearly defined end date and one that stipulates that development must be started within 1 year. Any lease can have the 6 months, 1 year clause. However, as stated in number 2, the project must be credible. Yeah.
I know the last time you came before us, we had a motion about putting his lease back up to the 13,000. Have you spoken to Mr. Farley regarding that?
I have not.
You have not, okay. So he wants, the FAA feels that we should terminate the existing lease immediately,
Yes,
meaning Mr. Farley's lease,
yes.
okay?
When I spoke with Mr. Falvey, I spent at least an hour with him going through all of this stuff. And he was wanting us to drop it to $100 a year. So not so sure he'd go for raising it back up.
So from our last meeting to this meeting, you haven't spoken to him?
No,
And he hasn't contacted you to see where his standing is with the board or his lease?
no.
No, he must not be interested.
How long ago did we meet with you? That was at least a month or more?
Yeah. I would say at least 6 weeks ago, he was here. And then you came back, not last 2 weeks ago, and now we're back again to discussing the same subject. Yes, Kim?
So my concern is with, the level of authority that the FAA actually has over the airport. I still haven't seen, we have not seen anything in writing from the FAA. So has this man put this in writing and given it to you in writing, that these are the requirements of the federal government? That
Yes.
we do with the Wiscasset, can we see that? I just would like to see it for myself. I feel uncomfortable with the federal government telling us how to parcel out our airport.
Well, in reality, it's their airport, because they pay.
Well, then they can fund it. Why
Well, they
are the
did.
taxpayers?
They did, and we as.
No, but it is also subsidized by taxpayers. The airport is another one of the departments in our town that doesn't break even. It's subsidized by the taxpayers. I don't know that we can't close it, we can't get rid of it, we're stuck with it. Here's my opinion, not that you want to hear it, but I don't like it, I feel uncomfortable. I would like to just see in writing, I love your memos, they're terrific. I would like to see the source documents, for my own peace of mind.
Catherine?
I think that, obviously, he didn't make up all of this.
Of course he didn't, I still want to see the source.
And I think that he probably has a letter or something from this FAA person, and I think we have to deal with this lease. The rest of what he has suggested in here is for future,
Yes.
use. And as far as the airport is concerned, it's a little bit off track, but I do know that Lifeline uses the airport on occasions to get injured people out of Wiscasset because they couldn't land near wherever the accident happened. And I think if you keep that in the back of your mind, then maybe your opinion of the airport's existence will change a little bit.
I would still like to see the source.
Rick? You're saying here, and I'm going to try and be the devil's advocate in this situation, that FAA is requesting the town, or telling the town, however you want to put it, to terminate the lease immediately.
Yes.
Do you have that in writing from FAA?
I do,
You do?
yes.
Is that something that you can get to the town manager?
He may have a copy of it,
I've got a copy of
the email.
well, yeah, but he also, remember when he listed off all the deficiencies?
Exactly.
And that was all there, including a long list of contracts I didn't even know we had.
Yes.
And we had to look, and that was pretty specific. I don't know if I actually circulated it to the board, but you and I and Kathy did go through that in detail. In fact, we've got to go back and talk to him a little bit more about it within a few weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, what we saw was a summary of that report, I think, that you prepared for us, which is terrific.
So we
I'd
copy it.
still like to see the source.
Yeah.
Ben and Jeff, do you have any comments?
I share some of Ken's concerns. However, I think the last number of years, the airport is more or less broken even as far as what the town has raised and put into it. But way back in the 50s, the town made all these agreements with the FAA, and we have to honor them, or we'll be in trouble. And I think Rick's done a pretty good job of putting it in order for us and helping us to get out from underneath what could be a sticky problem. And I'm ready to vote on
Yeah,
this.
Mr. Pantelli was very thorough, very open, and working with us and giving us good advice is what I've seen. But certainly we've got some material that might satisfy Kim.
I mean, my concern is, we've had 3 meetings on this. The first meeting, he was here. The second meeting, he was not here. He went back, told him that we wanted the $13,000.
He didn't.
He has, no, I'm sorry, you're right.
He did not tell him that, right?
Right. But he hasn't questioned it. He hasn't questioned any of the board. He hasn't called you to talk about where does this lease stand. So that gives me the impression he doesn't really care. If I was looking at this, I would care.
In his defense, the last meeting, he had something that he had planned with his children out of state. And so I know he was out of state at the last meeting.
And I kind of agree with Ben. I think you were saying about terminating the lease. I kind of agree with Ben to terminate the lease. And then the other situation in this letter, we can deal with FAA as far as how we want to go forward.
Yes.
But we have to correct this problem now before we have any more trouble with FAA.
Yeah, correct.
Catherine?
I'd like to make a motion that we terminate Mr. Falvey's lease and get on with this. As I said, the rest of it we can.
Yes, Kim?
So at the last meeting, you made a motion and voted to offer him a lease for $13,000. Do you have to undo that now?
No,
He hasn't accepted.
he
It hasn't
hasn't,
been, we didn't make the offer.
he hasn't responded.
We didn't make the offer, right? We did not make the offer. I'm just point of order, like, we voted, I voted against it, but you guys voted to offer him a $13,000 lease. It's in the public record. We didn't make the offer, so maybe you need to rescind that
Okay.
first.
Would you rescind your motion?
Yes,
Will you rescind your second?
only because I
Because
thought the
I-
offer was made.
No, if the offer has not been officially made to
You didn't
him,
make the offer.
then we have to rescind that
Oh, I
offer.
understand that, but I assumed that the,
Right.
No, he said he did not make the offer.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we rescind the, lease value of 13,000, whatever it was. That rescind that.
I will second that, though it strikes me as the FAA is really rescinded for us.
Yes, but we are the ones that we are, and Kim is right. Kim is right, that we did make that as a motion, so it has to be rescinded.
I thought he didn't offer the motion.
Okay, so we've got I made the motion, you seconded. All those in favor of rescinding it? Those opposed?
I don't actually know. I voted against it the first time, so.
You can abstain.
No, I'm gonna abstain because I vote again, I didn't approve of 13,000. So if I approve rescinding it, then in that way, I'm approving 13,000, which I don't.
So
I'll abstain.
you're abstaining, okay. Now, I will make a motion to terminate the existing lease.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's 4-1. And we have,
I'd still like to see source documents.
and yes, I think that would be, just for informational purpose. If you could get that to John and he can make sure that we see it in writing.
On that memo I had last time, there were some links, because like one of them is like 600 pages long, but it's all outlined in that memo that I had last week, that were to see all of that stuff. And the other one that I don't have anything here is the one that Mr. Pantella did. So that's the other one. And where I think it'll strike you, and I said, because I'd written this out first, and I said, may consider, and he struck that out, what is considered.
Okay. Well, I think that we need to have the airport committee address the leases
Oh, yes.
and do some work on that in connection with the FAA, so that the FAA and the town are on the same page,
Yes.
and bring that back. And, yes, Ed?
Are there issues with other leases?
No, this was the only lease. But I think what the FAA wants us to have a standard procedure, is that what he's saying?
Yeah, it wants us to follow FAA guidelines.
Right, because I keep saying it, to go from 13,000 down to 6,000 and something, then down to 1,000, now he wants 100. I question whether the town even had the authority to do that, seeing FAA was the one that approved the 13,000. So I think we, as whoever board was back then, weren't following through, weren't doing the correct thing. I just don't want any more problems with that FAA.
No, I don't either. And may I address Ed?
Yes.
There are problems with other leases that we got to figure out. I don't think that, because say we have 2 leases that are 100-year leases, and we've got a whole bunch that are 65-year leases. And what the FAA calls for is maximum 30-year leases. Now that's already been done, and we've got to give FAA some type of explanation, or what we're going to do, how we're going to raise more money off of those leases.
Right.
And then another issue was non-aeronautical and aeronautical use of those hangars. They have to be, for a long time, they have to be aeronautical use only. So you couldn't go in and make it a warehouse, for example, or make it some kind of business that didn't have anything to do with aviation. And so we're working to get through that right now. John, do you think I might mention about the hangar down at the south end next to the SRE building?
Would you call, are we in any kind of negotiation, would you describe it? Does it?
It's with Peregrine.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be upset about that.
Well, I think you could ask if there's somebody from Peregrine here that might respond. I mean, Ed, do you see a problem with that?
I have no knowledge about what the hell you're talking about.
But it's non-aviation, it was listed as non-aviation. But
Who made that determination?
the FAA, because he didn't have an airplane.
Because what?
They didn't have an airplane in there.
Oh, I can't comment.
All right, I let it slide.
Okay. But I think that's gonna come out real good.
Defer.
Defer. I think that piece is gonna make us very happy.
Yeah,
So we
sounds
can-
promising.
We can get the airport committee working on some of this stuff with FAA and get this all cleaned up.
Yes,
Okay.
and I know Mr. Pantelli would like that as well.
Is he coming back, or are we just gonna do it?
He asked that you and I call him,
Yes, okay.
do a conference call. And next Wednesday evening is the airport committee meeting. We're having folks from Synergy
Mhm.
that are gonna come and talk to us. And of course, we're a public meeting as well. So if anybody would like to come and sit in on that, we'd be glad to have you.
Now, who is to notify Mr. Fowler of his termination of his lease? Would that be the town or FAA?
That'd be the town.
Okay.
We drop a letter,
We'll draft a letter and send off to
we
you.
both sign it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ed?
If I may, Ed Paul Marsh, Wiscasset. I haven't worked for Peregrine for over a year now, but the effort that he was doing in that hangar was based on an initial contract with the U.S. Air Force to develop an engine for drone aircraft. So it is aircraft related. Now, yeah, he doesn't have an airplane in there, but it is aircraft related, so I really shouldn't comment on the status of the lease or Peregrine's current efforts. I'm not knowledgeable, but the original intent, and I believe it's still going on, is his development of that engine for that kind of purpose, so.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, we will go forward. New businesses. We have several new businesses. Rebecca Fox doing business as Creature Comfort Flowers, 236 Bath Road. Suzanne Sueforth doing business at the Hair Garage, 20 Suki Lane. Lenny Santos and Tara Diffin doing business as a Hot Spot Diner on 277 Bath Road. Dale J. Holman doing business as Eagle ATM LLC, 49 Water Street. Chandler Soden and Zach Goodwin doing business in a Silent Way, 65 Main Street. What's your pleasure?
When we grant the licenses, is that?
I'll second that.
Because there was no concerns, no comments from anybody. Okay. All those in favor? Thank you.
I'll let somebody else do it, Judy.
Hmm?
I said I'd let somebody else take them all.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, now I get to use the knife. They don't.
This is over. There we go. Okay, so we have 3 bids to provide audit service to the town. One is from Barry Talbot Royer of Falmouth. Yes, I think. The next one is from Arthur Smith, who they had audited the town in the past and currently audit the school. So there's this one. And the last one is from William Brewer, who is our current auditor.
Gary Talbot,
Jerry Talbot.
Boyle, R-O-Y-E-R.
I'm assuming they're offering the same level of audit. I suppose we could find the fee information, but I can't find it.
Well, I have here. Okay, here it is. Pricing. Year 1, July 1, 2019, to June 30, 2020, $13,000. Year 2, July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, $13,500. Year 3, July 1st, 2021 to June 2022, $13,750. That's that one.
That was Royer.
Yes. This one is R.W. Smith. Year 1, July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, $13,250. Year 2, July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, $13,250. Year 3, July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, $13,250. That is R.H. Smith. Did you find it?
No, I have not got it. The wrong glasses on. I was looking for a separate sheet, but I don't see it. I've been through 2 of them, and I can't find it, but they all look about the same.
There's no pricing. I didn't see one. I don't see a price.
There may be a separate letter someplace that might not have been included, but I can't see it, so I've looked at 3 of them now. Maybe there's a separate letter.
And there has to be, because it doesn't even, in his table of contents, it doesn't even say, fee of anything. Oh, there it is.
Okay, try that.
Try this one? Okay.
Are each one of those books for the selectmen? Are they?
Yes.
Yeah, there's probably 5, 6 copies of it. Yeah, there's 6. This is Brewer.
Okay, Brewer, July 1st, 2019, June 30th, 2020, price $19,300. Add for single audit $2,500. Year 2, July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, 19,500, adding 2,500 for single audit. Year 3, July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, 19,800, adding 2,500 for the single audit. It says here hourly rate for any necessary consultation or other accounting services. Price is $120 per hour for an accountant and $55 an hour for a paraprofessional.
I was looking, I didn't hear the numbers, but if the board is all ready to go, then that's fine. I mean, we have had Brewer audit, he's audited the county in the past, he's been audited that I know of. And Smith, we know, and the third one I don't know, Barry Talbot Royal. So, the board wishes I can go over them with Kathy.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to, have you go over the bids and, bid it to the most qualified bidder.
Second motion.
Good. Well, I'd like to add that a little bit. You can look at the numbers and tell who won the bid. But I know for the last few years, there have been times when we've been incredibly unhappy with our auditors. The audits have been, well, we had one that was a year late. And other times that we are waiting up to the very last minute to commitment to know what the numbers are. I mean, I think we've got some pretty poor work out of some of these people. I think it needs to be spelled out in writing when they will have certain things done.
That's why when I made the motion, I did not say lowest qualified bidder. I said the qualified bidder.
I'm just reinforcing what you said.
Because I know we've been there.
Yes, we have.
And Kathy has seconded it. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
I'll produce a summary for the next board meeting to check the references.
All right, town manager report.
Okay. Had some problems with sidewalks on ice, and some of the town people were pretty impatient about it all. The fact of the matter is, we've got a smallish road crew, and I had to put something in on the town website explaining what the priorities were, how much they could do. The ordinances were a little unclear as to what the responsibilities are of the property owners adjoining those sidewalks. And the fact is, it is the responsibility of the property owners to make a good faith effort to clear it in a timely manner. I looked at the city of Bath, and their view is 4 hours after a storm, the property owners are supposed to have the sidewalks clear, otherwise the town will come along and clear them at the property owner's expense. And if it's an overnight storm, they expect them to be cleaned by 10 a.m. the next morning. So hopefully we're mostly done. We're mostly done with the storms this year. I think it would be helpful to expand on what the responsibilities of the property owners are. And that was my understanding, and the town crew has made a good faith effort to keep everybody happy. But when the weather is changeable and the storms keep coming, that's very hard to do. And if you do look at the sidewalks downtown, there is a lot of salt on those, and Ted will tell me how the salt supplies are going down very quickly. So, in a nutshell, what comes off the roof, what comes from the sky is on the sidewalks. We're close to your property, that are your property. It's the property line, which apparently is not something that's been understood well enough, but the ordinances aren't specific, so a little enhancement to what happens if you don't take care of them might be necessary along the lines of what Bath has actually had to do. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on it.
And I think when I sent you that email, John, I asked if there was sand
Oh,
down there
yeah.
available, and I figured there was, I just wanted to hear
Oh,
it,
yeah,
so.
Ted responded to requests actually from some people downtown, put the buckets out with the sand in them,
That's all. that
and it
we
didn't
do.
happen. Okay. So anyway, that's my update. With any luck, we won't have to deal with a succession of these things, especially those ice events, which are very hard to keep ahead of. If I may go on to brownfields, cleanup. We had that public meeting, well, what day was it? Was it
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, last week.
Is that all? Just last week?
Can you believe it?
No.
Time flies when you're having fun, John.
And so they're ready to clean up those four ash ponds. And the funding is there, subject to us meeting all the conditions from DEP, et cetera. And they're hoping to get it done within this year. And then we will have a cleaned up brownfield site of 30-odd acres. And we'll be able to do some things with it. And it will free up all the questions about, the adjoining properties. If there's an uncleaned brownfield, that's now gone, so it'll put a whole new complexion on the thing. So that's a promising.
I learned a lot.
Yes. So that's the brownfields. Legal update is next. You will note that a suit has been filed against us under ADB, appeal of government actions regarding the approval of the fireworks license for Big Al. So the attorney is aware of this and will communicate with us as to what's the appropriate next step.
Hi, my name is Tom Bryant. Live in Wiscasset. I have about 5 comments related to this issue.
If you'd like to speak up just a little
Sorry,
bit.
is this
please.
not working?
I don't know, but if you could talk up just a little bit.
Is it working now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just
Okay.
assumed you could hear me. Is it okay now?
You're fine.
Okay. I can't hear it myself. I have about 5 comments related to this. I will try to keep them brief. Number one, it was actually on December 30th, we filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the town of Wiscasset. It's been well over a month, and we have not had any substantive response to that Freedom of Information Act request.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
Absolutely not. I did respond to you. I said I would answer your request. You did have a very expansive definition of what you wanted. You said, was it all and every and all, something like that, on 2 different topics. I said I didn't have the staff currently. I would get them. I still don't have the staff. I've got 2 potential people, and I have to get an estimate of the time because it is a pain, it is a pain going through the old documents. You've got most of them. And so we have to rigorously make sure we include everything. And I am going to respond to it. Like I said, we're short-staffed, and I haven't got an estimate of the time involved, and I will get it to you.
He's 100% accurate in this assessment. I just wanted to.
What did you say?
I said you are 100% accurate in what you
Thank you.
said.
I appreciate it.
So, yeah, I just wanted to remind the board, okay? Secondly, yes, we have filed another lawsuit. I would like to explain why we felt it necessary to do that, if I may.
I don't need to hear
I-
why.
You don't?
I
don't.
personally, I would not like to hear about it. We have turned this over into our attorney's hands,
Okay.
and I
Okay.
would prefer, I agree with Jeff, I prefer it stay there and not in this type of form.
Okay, well, I'll drop that one. Let me see. Based on that comment, let me see if I probably should drop all the rest based on that response.
Thank you.
I think it's really between the attorneys.
I agree.
It's not,
Oh, okay, that's no problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, municipal building floors and basements. You probably know we've had, another water leak, whole building, and, floors are up, walls are chopped off 2 feet above the floor. And we've had, Servpro come in, everything's dried out. We filed our claim with Maine Municipal. And so we're getting estimates as to the work involved. So what I'm doing is incorporating our flooring project, which has been hanging fire for quite a while, incorporating that with the necessary repairs using the insurance company money, and we're getting quotes. John Mary is helping, and Kathy is actively involved. So we're hoping to get the floors dealt with. We're looking at materials and quotes and such like. So that is, that's the update on the floors. We've got, obviously there's some abatement, you heard about some asbestos, how best to deal with encapsulation, removal, all the positive pressure where you're trying to keep the stuff, from getting, anyway, we're doing all that. Since I'm on the repair thing, right up there, after the last meeting, the big brown patch, I just happened to notice as I was closing the lights off. So there's a valve up there with antifreeze, which was kind of a nuisance. We got it fixed. The guys, the road crew, binned it up, and on Saturday we got someone come in and he painted the whole ceiling. So if you're admiring the ceiling, now's your chance.
It does seem brighter.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And thank you for finding, Ted, thank you for finding the guy who moved so efficiently. The other item I have is on the oil prices. Very pleased to announce that we've got our fuel oil prices under $2 a gallon, which is a terrific relief.
Wow.
The MW Seward people have been keeping a close eye on it, and this time around we've got the school and the town combining their bids. Last year, for some reason, we had to do a catch-up some months later, cost us a bit more. But anyway, so that bit's all good, and I've got the, actually I've got the contract here if you want to see it, otherwise I can, with your approval, I can sign them. I'm very pleased about that, and it was lucky that John Mary, was keeping an eye out for the school, and I told him when he decided to do that, let us know, and away it went, and Bob McDonald also. So that's that. Let's see, there was some small stuff here. Thursday weather looks a little iffy for the budget committee. My own view would be, hell or high water, whatever, unless it's absolutely impassable, I would hope that we could get a quorum from both the selectmen. We might not be able to make. Anyway, if at all possible, I'd like to move it ahead. We've got pretty much all our department budgets in. Budget books will get assembled tomorrow, so fingers crossed. Okay.
Can we have the plow trucks come out and pick us all up?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna go out and
You know where I live.
Ted Straw.
Let's see, the other one was that a member present asked about the flu notice we put up on the door, and that's something that Dennis from EMS got a standard form. I don't know what site you got it from, but with the way the flu is spreading, schools are closing, people are sick, we didn't want to jeopardize the health of our own office staff, because they get a lot of people coming through every day. So we put that notice up basically suggesting that if people had any symptoms, coughing, whatever, please pick a different time, or maybe send somebody else in to do whatever. Anyway, just from the point of view of the safety of the staff. Did that answer your question, sir? So I don't have,
You don't have anything else?
I don't have anything else. We've got a shortish executive session, personnel matter. We'll leave the vote after that. And subsequent to that, the last thing would be another executive session that would be related to current state of union negotiations. So
I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A. And we will vote after. All those in favor?
You should stay around.
Yes. No, we're going, we're gonna go. Coming out before you went to the second one. Yes, we have to vote.
Yeah, I mean, I might.
You know what? Well, you know what? We can, sorry, we leave it.